Excellent. So, as you've just seen, this panel we're going to explore everything to do with the FIS Alpine World Championships at Saalbach. So look at the complexities of the broadcasts, covering everything from the logistical challenges to coordinating multiple camera angles in extreme conditions, and a big focus will be the innovative use of drones as well. So with me is Michael from ORF. Michael's head of directors. And next to Michael, we have Andre. Andre is founder of Theis Media. And then on the end there is Robert, who is the managing director of TV Skyline. So, Michael, we'll start with you if we can. Saalbach is considered by many to be the premier downhill event. And obviously, with your position, you get to see all sorts of sport, not just in winter sports, but huge amount of winter sports as well. Can you give us a bit of a sense of what, from your perspective, is so special about Saalbach?
Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks for the invitation first. And for us, in Austria especially, skiing, like in Norway, but on our side, it's more the Alpine side, not the cross-country. So for us, this is the key event for each year. It's Kitzbühel, and if we have the honor to be host for championships, it's like Super Bowl and everything. We had about 56 cameras on the downhill, with 31 of them have been hypermotions, and we used really state-of-the-art technology. So we put everything and all the efforts which are possible into our production for the skiing event.
Fantastic. And on some of those figures that you mentioned as well, Robert, you've got some figures that you're going to show us. Just before we get into those, can you just give us a sense, tell us a little bit about TV Skyline's role in all of this?
So in a classical OB van provider, but in this case, let's say it like this, we were the orchestra. We brought the orchestra, the musicians, the instruments, and Michael was the conductor to make, I think it were 8 races, so we played 8 different symphonies. He was conducting with us.
Fantastic. And actually, just before we get into those numbers as well, Andre, just give us a sense of your role and your company's role in Saalbach as well.
Yeah, thank you as well for the invitation. Andre Theis, founder of the Theis Media, and we do wireless video spatial solutions, and we've been under the first ones to realize FPV live drones, including professional broadcast gear. So this is basically our DNA to special wireless video stuff.
Fantastic, thank you. Sorry, Robert, go for it with the facts and figures.
So nearly 150 people for 3.5 weeks in Saalbach, over 2,000 overnight stays. That was quite challenging because Saalbach is a winter sport area, but at this time everybody wants to be in Saalbach, so that was really challenging. And preparation started 18 months ago together with ORF, who really did with us an amazing partnership over this period. So it made us quite easy to perform there together. Yeah. So what to do? Is there an
I think if you point it towards the back, I think
in the
that
back?
might help. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. 120 cameras parallel on site, and we managed to make 370 camera positions over the days there. So having a man's and a woman's track beside. Nearly half of the cameras were super slow-mos and high-speed cameras. Yeah. We made this out of one OB van. So normally you have 2 to 3 OB vans for such a world championship, but this time we had one OB van with 4 production areas, 4 sound control rooms, and a hell of EVSs to show all these emotions and super slow-mo things. 360 fiber connections from the compound up to the mountain. plus 60 kilometers of cabling, and at the end we counted about 150 heli flights to bring the equipment up to the mountain and back again. So logistically, absolutely mess. And the first time ORF told us what they planned and what they want to do, that was one challenge, to believe them that it's really so big. But
Excellent. And Michael, you're going to talk us through some of the innovations, some of the things that were new for this year as well.
Yeah, for this year, as I told you, we will a lot of focus on super slow-mo actions. And there is one example, you can remember that. It takes a little while till we start the slow-mo action there. You're far too high. Go back. There it is. Go. But you cannot start it. This is the problem. But if you go to the drone, then we start the drone. No worries.
sorry.
No issue. This was a crash of a German racer in a practice, and we had the first few days we had practice women, practice men. They all come into the same finish, so we had to cover both sides of the track. And on some days we had practice and already competition. And this was during a practice run, and during this break, it was the only time when I was able to show all the options we have. So if you have a look at this, there will be coming these super slow-mos pretty soon. We had these final champs from 9 different angles, and all in super slow-mos and all the stuff. So when we replayed this to the commentators during this practice, where they normally don't have a lot to talk, they were quite surprised how many options we got of these shots. And this is actually the possibility and the things I really prefer on these events, to have the chance to choose and to look for the best angle, because not all the angles are always perfect, but some of them are. And if you have the possibility, and with this technology and with Skyline together, we managed to have all these actions in a way we wanted to have them. So this was one of the key factors, I think, for the storytelling of a skiing, because to my mind, it's not always just showing one racer after the other. I'm more of a kind to tell a story on a race, to give the commentators footage to talk about, and to develop a story during the whole coverage. And with all the tools we got, with all the sides, on one hand, it's to transport the sport and to show, in this case, how spectacular skiing is. Skiing is one of the most underrated sports for myself, because if you imagine, there are people going down slopes, especially in speed events with 150k and even more, on a vertical icy slope, which normal people cannot even imagine to walk on, and they have no protection at all. They have just this airbag and the helmet. But if you crash into the barriers, into the fences, which are there to cover and to protect them from going into the woods, into the forest, it still hurts. And this is in no other sport anymore the case. Even in Formula One, you're sitting in a carbon fiber chassis. It's not easy to have a heavy crash, but it doesn't hurt as much if you go down like a downhiller with 150k into the barrier. Even this guy hurt himself a little bit, although he was lucky and quick enough to get up again. So this is the reason why I always try to make this obvious for the people. And as a director, especially on quick sports, we always have the same problem. We're not able to show the speed, and we are not able to show the steepness of the hill. And these are the things which we always try to find out with better angles, and therefore the drones are a big help for us.
And just on that point of the slow-mos,
yeah.
How were you able to do that? What were some of the tools that enabled you to?
What was a key tool for us, and what really impressed me, was Extra Motion 3.0 from EVS. We implemented this the first time, and I saw this, I think, 4 years ago for the first time in Las Vegas at the NRB. And with this tool, it was possible for us to have each camera, also the cameras who were not super slow-mos at the start, to get them in a super slow-mo version. And this was really brilliant. And even the cameras which have been super slow-mos already, we could double up the frame rate. So we could make a 3 to a 6, and sometimes guys played around. We made a 6 times to a 12 times even, so to get really impressive shots. And this gives so much more to your whole coverage and so much more impact. I think this is also a key for the future. I'm afraid a little bit for the camera producers, because if this is working, nobody will go for extra motion FIS anymore, but we'll see.
Thank you. And I think we've got a bit of team radio next as well.
Yeah, then one of the things which we were happy to elaborate and really to
Ein
was
DNF in der Ergebnisliste für Did Not Finish. Team Radio aus Österreich.
Von der Hornung des großen Kerl aus, du musst unbedingt Kurs schwer dagegen nehmen. Es geht voll schnell dahin, voll Gas im Front. Auf geht's.
Es hat mich gewundert.
Zweimal. Ein DNF in der Ergebnisliste für Did Not Finish. Team Radio aus Österreich.
Spannend, die ist schnell und das ist cool.
Ja, wir sehen Corneta, Team Radio Österreich. Aber auch die sagen alle, alles wie.
Spannend, die ist schnell und das ist cool.
So there are several examples there. You can listen. We were able to air 115 team radio quotes during our coverage, and this had a massive impact. We got enormous feedback. Even NBC who normally don't care about skiing so much, but watching this, I got emails how cool it is, because it involves you so much more into the action and gives you so much more background information. And if the commentators listen to it, they were really cool footage there, which they could pick up and integrate into their comments and to focus on special parts of the course. For example, I had 2 examples, not at World Champs, the day before when we tested in Schladming. There was a hole in one of the gates right after the start, and the Italians were giving Vinazza the information, and I knew before what was the editorial value of this one and showed this hole. And then when Vinazza took off the start, he went directly into this hole. So this was things where you really then put your focus on, and then it's really a massive add-on to the whole coverage.
And what have we got next in your slides, Robert? I think we've got
Aus den Vereinigten Staaten auf der Strecke Bryce
The
Bennett.
virtual information we also integrated into the coverage. All these things, we got a lot of support and joint venture together with the FIS, I have to mention here. I think later in the afternoon you will also have a talk to Manu Couder,
Hopefully.
and he will can give you any information on this, because FIS was taking care, for example, on the team radio, that we get all the radio frequencies from the team, that we could collect this stuff. This stuff then went into an AI-supported system which we customized for us, and there everything was translated into English. There were several editors in the background, either on site or either remotely at home. They said, this is the important part. Former racers and coaches in the background said, this is important to put to the audience. Then they gave, when they had finalized the clip and when they had editorial-wise checked if the English transcription was perfect, then they told me, we have a Norwegian team radio, and then I had to decide by my own, can I put it on air? Do I have the time or not? Which is especially easier to use in slalom, because there I am the guy who closes the start gate. But if you have an interval, you really have to calculate in your mind, is it possible to get this on air or not in time for the commentators? Because as a process of learning, it fits better to a clean, quiet shot. It doesn't work. I had a lot of pressure in first run GS Man because the weather was not good. And I still tried to put on some of the team radios, and this made a problem, created a problem for the commentators, because some of the quotes have been too long for the time frame I had left. So they already got out of the start house, and then they couldn't start their intro for the racer. So keep in mind, whenever you do this, give them a chance to talk and to reflect on the things they heard. So this is the important lesson I learned out of this situation.
So you've touched on the drones already. Robert, are you able to take us through to some of those shots?
This is one thing on the automat shot which we are normally not allowed to do, to fly towards the racer. We're always on safety, fly from behind. But there was one reason why I took this risk and this shot, because I want to start at the Super G, and I wanted to show the thing I mentioned before, the steepness of this hill. This was 80% steep, and this was the only way to show a little bit how steep it is, to give you a little bit of an impression. This was the only reason. Most of the time on all these drone shots, the important thing is safety first. And we are working together for years now with Andre and his guys, with Daniel and Martin, with the pilots, because there have been a lot of crashes in the near past. So from other actions, we were lucky we didn't have so far one in our Alpine events. And it's always a mixture. For me, when we started this program, we had to bring it back after the famous Hirscher crash, everybody knows, with the big drones. Then the drones got smaller, and I was able to convince the race directors and FIS that drones are really a key factor to make skiing more interesting, to give you at least a little bit of the aspect of seeing the speed, and on some occasions also of the steepness. And then we used it for the first time during Corona in Kitzbühel, on a part when there were no spectators, everybody was so impressed. And from this year on, I started to add one drone after the other for the skiing in Kitzbühel for the race. And we end now, at the moment, we are ending by four drones on the whole course. So I can cover the course from top to bottom with the drones if I want. The drones, that's the reason, if you go to the other shot from Kilde, because these are brought because we are in Norway, you have to go back the other way, you showed it before. No, back. There it is, yeah, this is, go. Just to give an impression, what you can see, this is a 2-year-old shot from Kilde in Kitzbühel, when we followed him on the traverse, so you get really impressive footage. And as we are in Norway, I just wanted to bring it to you, and I hope that he's going to be back next year and delivering us some action like this. This is the important fact for us. No, but the drones have one big disadvantage also, which we are also working on, is the situation that the sound is always coming with the drone and killing some of the natural sound of the skiing, because people want to know. We are working on this. There are some AI-based ideas for the microphones already, where you get rid of the drone sound. And the other thing is, as we do it most of the time now, we have our own keyboard mixer and add the correct sound files to the sequences where we're showing the drones.
Fantastic. Andre, just talk us through, and Michael's already touched on some of the setup. He mentioned 4 drones in particular for Saalbach. Just talk us through the drone setup there, sort of size of your operation and what you're flying as well.
Yeah. So basically, looking on Saalbach or Kitzbühel, where you mentioned using 4 drones, we are looking basically on FPV drones, so first-person view. That means we have a pilot who wears goggles, and what you see is also what he is seeing. So this is how we operate. The systems we use are, we start this year in Saalbach, we had also a very small sub 250 gram FPV drone. This is because this system is allowed to go really close to people. So it is not very fast, it's only about 40 km/h, but it can go 1 meter in front of people, so you can not go over the audience or the spectators, but in front of. So this is a system we used also for the opening ceremony. It was used this year. And the sequences you see here are actually 5-inch race drones, FPV. We got faster ones, but these are about 180 km/h to just match the speed of the athletes. And again, each system is completely equipped with professional camera, broadcast camera, and also with the transmitter, COFDM transmitter, which you know from normal shoulder cams or whatever, so proper systems. And we do have an in-house built telemetry system so that the vision engineers are able to do shading from within the OB van. The team operating is always that we have 3 persons for one drone that brings the pilot. Then we do have the spotter. This is mandatory, it's a legal aspect, because the pilot wears the goggles. He cannot see anything, what's happening around him. The spotter has to be there. It's let's say, the eye of the pilot when it comes to what's happening around. The third one is the HF technician, because we have proper HF gear. Of course, we have to monitor that to make sure frequencies are fine, modulation is fine on the transmitters, antenna positioning is fine, and all this. So this is the drones we've used here in Saalbach as well, the race drones. I can also say something about the process of starting to the legal work, let's say. When we operate in Saalbach or in Europe, we always have to face the Europe law for drones. This is what comes on very top. So, and underneath, then it follows the specific or the open category. That means open category is just, you can have a look on a map, where can I fly without any extra permissions or whatever. This is just open. But we are doing everything by specific category. That means we have to fill out a SORA or to do a SORA. That means a special operations risk assessment, where we define the zone where we fly and what are things we do for safety and stuff. And with this SORA, you go then, for example, to the Austro control. This is in Austria. The authority is responsible for the airspace. You show them what you will do for safety and stuff, and then you will get the permission to operate in the specific category, going nearer and stuff. So this is that's what's happening around. But of course, it has to be all safe, and this was the first and mandatory thing to clear, and therefore we came up with own safety rules by ourselves. So, and also there I have to mention FIS as well, because together with Emmanuel Koegler as well, we defined mandatory aspects of quality of broadcast, of safety, and also piloting for every team that will participate on the FIS, just to make sure everybody plays under the same rules. And just some things. There are, of course, technical things that are giving more safety. For example, we have the GPS rescue. If the pilot loses control, or he can put a button, or the system is automatic, the drone goes up and comes back to us. So this is the first thing. Then from this year also we have a control for the drones that runs on 2 frequencies, so a redundant system in the 2-point-something gigahertz and also in UHF base. It's redundant, so if one frequency is disturbed, the other one is just continuing. So these are things from the technical side, but technique can fail. So you need to have the pilots who can make sure, who will make sure and are able to operate in a safe way, who can keep distances, who read the athlete and make sure that they keep distances. So whatever comes, we will never touch the pilot. We will anyway behind them or behind them on the left or whatever. Yeah. So this is the most important. And one last word also to the pilots. The safety stuff is of course very important, but also the framing itself. We started, that was also a process at the very beginning with race drone pilots. So they used to really race and go fast, and they didn't take, it didn't matter if they had a good framing as a camera picture. So this was also something. So we had to find pilots that are able to operate safely, to do a proper framing. And this gives them the linear insight of the track.
Fantastic, thank you. So Michael, these things that we've heard about, these are all extra things for you to weave into the broadcast to kind of aid that process of storytelling, which is fantastic, I guess, from your perspective, but also so much more to kind of manage, so much more to weave in. How do you balance all of these additional kind of tools and ways of telling that story without kind of overloading it, if you like?
Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we overload with the drone action because we're all fascinated by the drones. But if you have 4 drones on a course, we really decide more or less which part of the course we are showing with the drone and which parts we are going to show with the normal camera action. And it's also a difference if you go on a speed event or if you go on a tech event. Because on tech, especially on slalom, the drone shot, especially for the commentators and experts, is a more difficult shot to evaluate if the racer is doing a good move or not. It's more or less an overview shot of the line, which is good, but it's not as dynamic as a normal camera shot. But on a speed event, it's really a big a step. I would say it's a key now for a great coverage of a speed event to have drone parts in the coverage. And to mix this all up, you have to have intervals which are in the lengths to bring some of the stuff in. Unfortunately, we'll never be able to put all the stuff in, and then it's on my side and on my team, especially because it's not me alone, it's always the team, it's always the guys in the slow-mo back there, it's always the sound engineer putting the right sound in, the camera guys giving you the right shots, and the drone pilots flying in the way they do. And then mixing it up and having also some additional stuff like we created there with creating, to my point, it's on one side the sport, and the key thing for sport is emotion, to bring emotion to the audience, to get something which people are involved. And what we, for the champions, really had a key point was finding relatives, friends of the athletes, and for the audience at home to identify them with a graphic. And this, I think, makes it even more and brings you closer to the action, closer to the family, and then you know who is cheering there, who has Theis there. And we were able, with our team, really to find from the top racers, we have prepared lists. How does his girlfriend? This is the mother, this is the father. So they know, and they locate them with the floor managers and with the camera guys. We have one Italian-speaking camera guy. We have an international crew. About 10 nations are in my crew, which I also use at the Olympics for the events I produce there, and who is very communicative. And he goes, are you supporting someone? And then he finds people. So my biggest victory in this thing was when he found racer number 86, the family of the Japanese Watanabe, in the first run of the slalom, because this you would normally not know that but he was asking all the Japanese, yes, said, yes, we are.
Fantastic. Okay, listen, we're out of time, but just very, very quickly, and it will have to be quick, otherwise Rux will start waving and shouting at me for running over. But very, very quickly, based on, and we'll start with you, Robert, if we can, based on the successes of this year's innovations, what do you see as being the next big step?
I think the next big, it will not be a next big step. I think you will try to also make a possibility to tell stories, and you tell stories by the surroundings, by the cinematic cameras at the start, behind the start, at the finish, at the fans. You will have more high-speed cameras, more super slow-mos to tell the stories. And I think the next big thing is to adopt from this Ski World Championship to the World Cup events, this storytelling. That will be the next step to achieve, hopefully.
Fantastic. Thank you. Andre?
Stabilized pictures, stabilized camera pictures. Yeah, well, even if it's not completely stabilized, there might just 5% in it or whatever. You would just want to play with that idea and see what comes out.
Yeah. And Michael, last word?
Not on the picture side, on the sound side, because picture without sound, everybody knows, if you look at the horror movies, there's not the correct sound, it doesn't fit well. And we already tested in Kitzbühel during the practice the mic'd up athletes. We put some microphone, we integrated it into the bib, and what we were able to listen was really fantastic and brings you so close to the athlete like you have never been before. And we hope that FIS, who was also supporting this project, is making it mandatory that the athletes have to wear the bib where this is integrated, because we also talked to the athletes. Odermatt and Paris were trying it, and they were said no problem, because it doesn't disturb us anywhere, there is no danger involved. So it's just on us then to bring in the hardware, the transmitters and all the receivers to have the sound almost the whole course as far as possible. But this will be a really huge step.
Fantastic. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you to Michael, to Andre, and to Robert.